These are the descendants of hardy men and women of Waterford, Wexford and Kilkenny who crossed the Atlantic to hunt the fish of Newfoundland some 150 or so years ago. They toed and froed across the Atlantic in their trade, but then many stayed on the other side for what was a somewhat better life. The Irish colonisation of areas like Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island and New Brunswick. And though thousands of miles and some generations removed, still they speak with the accents of South Kilkenny, of Waterford and Wexford.
One ancestor from Dungarvan and another one from South Tipperary. They were there in 1770. They're on record that they've been there.
And they still have this tradition, particularly the Irish tradition of music and
still very strong.
And fishing.
Still very strong, yes.
That must be a Clark's with us.
In this project, called Confluence 85, they've returned to those areas to see their roots and fall into conversation with the native men and women who are probably cousins.
So you were warned that you were going to be invaded?
You are just right out time place around here, you know.
Yeah.
Right out there are people from here out here.
Yeah.
20 years ago as opposed to Newfoundland.
Yes.
Years upon years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
You see that now go people,
Yeah.
even people not myself up out in America.
No.
Up out in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minneapolis.
What's your name?
Welsh.
Well, everybody's a Welsh, right?
Yeah, Welsh.
There's a part of Quebec City that used to be called Welsh's Farm.
Yeah.
Welsh's Field.
Yeah.
And it's completely covered over by city blocks now. But that's a very well-known name in Quebec City also.
Yeah, it's a long time ago since 30 people went out.
In field trips throughout the southeast of the country, they heard talks from UCD geographer Jack Burtchaell and UCC professor of geography William Smyth, tracing their bloodlines and the life of their forebears.
Well, the little village of Corrimartin is off the road. We couldn't bring a bus to it. But that cluster was populated entirely by one family named Hennebrys. And they weren't small farmers, they were quite large. Might have had 100, 150 acres. And they had land in adjacent townlands also.
And it's a subject in which broadcaster Aidan O'Hara has taken a special interest. Aidan, what is the connection between this area and Newfoundland?
Oh, well, it's a very long and old connection, Michael. Over 200 years, the young men of this area would go out to Newfoundland for the seasonal fishery. They go out sometimes for what they call a Newfoundland season, which would be 2 summers and a winter, and then they'd come back in the fall, late fall, with money in their pockets, having worked in the inshore fishery in Newfoundland. Eventually, of course, many of them settled there, and now we have some of them back here in Ireland to trace their roots, and there are people here called Dunphys from New Brunswick and others from Newfoundland like O'Brien's, and they kept running into them on the road outside the village here.